With the physical absence of Chairman Bill, I would like to ask Vice Chair Sylvia to chair this meeting.
That would be fine.
Thank you. Would you
Madam
go ahead?
Executive Secretary.
Thank you. Would you go ahead and call to order?
Welcome to the special board meeting of the Captiva Erosion Prevention District on this Monday, June the 28th, 2021 at 5:01 p.m. This meeting will now come to order. Roll call. Chair, do we have any commissioners requesting to appear remotely?
Yes, we have Chairman Renee Maville and Treasurer Richard Pyle appearing remotely, and Commissioner Mullins has asked for an excused absence.
So is there a motion to allow the commissioners to appear remotely? And Ralph, do we have an issue with only two here?
Go ahead and make a motion and then do a second on this.
Okay. So is there a motion to allow the commissioners to appear remotely?
Yes.
I guess I would second.
Yes.
Any discussion? All in favor? Administrative Director, please call the roll.
Aye.
Chairman Maville,
Aye.
Chairman Sylvia,
Aye.
Secretary Kaiser,
Aye.
Treasurer Pyle. He's here.
Yes.
There he is. There you go. And Commissioner Mullins has asked to be out.
Okay, before we proceed to public comments, are there any changes to the agenda?
I believe the executive director has some changes to the agenda. Also, the tentative apportionment, we will take public comment and we will make a presentation, but we won't take action on the tentative apportionment today. But it's a good public information opportunity and a good opportunity to hear public comment and take those into consideration prior to our August meeting. There are some resolutions that do need to be adopted so that we can continue with business at the Captiva Erosion Prevention District. And that said, we will take virtual votes, even with the virtual quorum, but they will have to be ratified again in August when we meet for our next regular meeting.
Thank you. And yes, Vice Chairman Sylvia, I wanted to add two items to the agenda. First, and these items are in your packet, but first we need to vote on an expense for staff to possibly stay on island during the project. The reason that we are looking to do this is because we have our project manager from the dredging company along with our engineering company on island. Should there be any issues, which in the past my understanding was we've had issues of course, storms, losing power, and the pipe breaking. Being able to have staff on island will ensure that we're able to get the word out to the residents quickly. But again, that's up for discussion and vote for you all. You make that choice. But that is the justification in terms of why we would want a staff member on island at all times during the 8 weeks of the project. The second item I'd like to add is a local government funding request services contract from Aptim. What this is giving approval for Aptim to go ahead and apply for our local government funding. They would handle that on our behalf. So I would like to place both of those items on the agenda immediately following agenda item 4.
So do I have a motion?
I'll make
a motion. I will second. Is that okay?
Mhm.
Okay, Administrative Director, please call the vote.
Vice Chairman Sylvia,
Yes.
Secretary Kaiser,
Yes.
Treasurer Pyle,
He's not on.
I think he's a little frozen there. And is that a yes from him? Okay. Commissioner Mullins is absent, and Chairman Maville.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Great. All comments regarding tentative apportionment will be heard during this item of business?
Now that item.
No. Chair, we will now open the floor to public comments. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Anyone who is recognized to make a comment, please remember to state and spell your name for the record. Please know we will be discussing the tentative apportionment model later in the meeting. So if you have any questions or comments regarding that item, please hold them until after the presentation is completed. Staff will take questions and comments at that time. So we're opening to public comments on some issues anyone has.
Anyone for public comment outside of the tentative apportionment model?
Excuse me. John Jensen.
Yeah,
And,
sure.
Are you going to be discussing when the project starts? Are you going to be,
We can give you an update, yes, sir.
okay. And
Yeah,
then
we can do, if you want to come to the podium and ask the question,
Okay.
if you give your name, I'm trying to get them all official.
Okay,
So
all right.
Give your name for the record, please,
Sure.
for the minutes, and then ask your question.
Yeah, my name is John Jensen. I live in Sunset Captiva. And just asking if you're going to be discussing when the project starts and where it's going to start, if you know that, if you have that information.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Where is that on the agenda?
It's not, so
Oh.
we'd be happy to address public comment when everyone's done.
Okay,
We'd be happy to address that,
okay.
okay?
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, and I have one, looks like from Mr. Joe Schwartzel. I allowed you to speak for the time being. Mr. Schwartzel, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes, sir, floor is yours.
I have raised these issues before, would like to raise them again. When we are looking at a pure ad valorem basis for calculating value, according to the dictionary, ad valorem is proportionate to the estimated value. And the value that is currently being used is really the real estate value and to determine the ad valorem value. And the value of commercial businesses obviously is not just the real estate that they occupy, it is the value of the enterprise that they run. And that enterprise value is usually a function of some sort of multiple of sales or EBITDA. And we don't look at that by using purely an ad valorem real estate valuation. Likewise, many of the residences on the island are really commercial in concept, and the fact that they rent their homes for much of the year. That value that they receive from that is also not taken into consideration. If you look at most of the real estate listings for rental properties, they're very happy to tout the amount of revenue that is received from their rentals in terms of establishing the value for sale. Residential properties, therefore, are being unfairly, those that are purely residential, I believe by the formula that is being used, are being unfairly penalized and are subsidizing the commercial ventures on Captiva. And if you take a look at the commercial operations, I think most of us that live on the island full time recognize that they are much more intense users of the beach properties than the residents are. And very often they're also more destructive. They tend to dig holes, not fill them back up. They leave beach paraphernalia. They leave trash, etc. on the beach. So they're highly intensive users. I kind of took a look at a few examples just to show the inequity that's out there. You can go through and do your own analysis.
Oh, you've had your 3 minutes. Let's,
Hey, that's the 3 minutes.
Am I up?
Can we move on, please? And we can.
Mr. Schwartz, sorry, let me interject here. Sorry, we'd like to hold all discussion about the tentative apportionment model until that item in discussion. And we've reached our 3-minute mark for public comment. If there's anybody else.
Thank
that
you.
is prepared for public comment.
thank you, Joe.
Okay. And now I believe that is it for public comments. Mr. Sylvia?
So we have a resolution 2021.
I'm sorry, Vice Chair. We would go ahead and allow Technical Director Dan Munt to answer public comment regarding Mr. Jensen's question regarding the project update.
That's fine.
Timeline, is that okay? All right,
Okay.
go ahead.
So at this moment, the project is scheduled to start as early as August 5th. The original proposed start date was August 21st. They're trying to accelerate it, but we are trying to get clearance from FWC for the movement of the sea turtle nest this time. So it could be anywhere from August 5th to August 21st at this time. They're scheduled to start at the south end of the island and work their way north.
Okay. Thank you.
And again, once the project starts, I'm gonna try to help visualize the progress of the project as much as possible. Some of you may have seen the map for the apportionment. I plan to do more things like that in the future to help the people of the island be able to visualize what's going on the island a little bit better.
That'll be on the website.
Be set up.
Yes, we plan to have beach briefs going out, and that's one of the reasons why should the commissioners vote to allow a staff member to be on island at all times, we'll be able to get that communication out very quickly. And Dan's specialty with the GIS system that we're using from the county, the map system, he should be able to indicate in between markers where we're going to move next, when we're finished, how long we'll be there.
Right.
So that's our goal with this project. I know when I came on board in January, that was a commitment that we made to the commissioners that we would have a very efficient communication plan moving forward.
Great, because I know a lot of rental homes on the beach like to tell the customers, you know,
Yes.
when, I know you can't be
Yes.
exact because of weather and everything, but
We can't, and that's a great point, but we definitely want to make sure that the rental companies are aware of when these moving parts are. For example, if there's a wedding or a big family event,
yeah,
it's important to know, hey, you may have a pipe, coming through. So I think it's important to try to let people know ahead of time.
great, thank you.
Ralph, did you have a comment? Think we're all set then? Can proceed. Resolution 2021-15, an intent to reimburse original expenditures with proceeds of tax-exempt debt. Chair, I think CEPD bond counsel Mark Raymond recommended that we pass a resolution stating the district's intent to reimburse the original expenditures of the beach nourishment project with proceeds from our bond loan or tax-exempt debt. Is Mr. Raymond?
It looks like Mr. Raymond is not on the call right now, but the intent, as explained, is this is used to notify that our intent with the bond loan is to pay off debt service with the beach nourishment project.
So Ralph, can we move ahead then without his explanation?
If you can, what you're doing here is you're putting money up from the funds that the CEPD has now to begin the project now in August, and then we'll repay those monies back from any loans that you obtain and any government grants that you obtain. So this is stating that that's our intent. That allows you to then seek reimbursement of those original expenditures.
This is not,
Without
all
that,
that
you may
different.
not be able to
this
seek.
is not all that different than what he said last time.
Same thing. This is to allow us to be able to recoup those expenses later when there is a loan. If we don't do this, we may not be able to
That's
recoup
right.
those expenses.
Yeah, I think
So it's essential that we pass this today.
so we did discuss this before.
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept resolution 2021-15 as written?
To approve. To approve.
To approve. I'm sorry. To approve.
Yeah. I will make a resolution to extend and reimburse original expenditures with proceeds of tax-exempt debt.
I'll second. And any discussion among the commissioners? Administrative Director, please call the vote.
Vice Chairman Sylvia,
Yes.
Secretary Kaiser,
Yes.
Treasurer Pyle. Treasurer Pyle? Aye. Thank you. Commissioner Mullins is absent. and Chair Bill.
Yes, aye.
All right, the motion carries 4-0.
Good. Thank you. Chair, Executive Director, it is my understanding that staff has previously stayed on the island during our beach and erosion project to be easily accessible. Can you explain what your need from the board is?
Thank you, Vice Chair Sylvia. So as I explained earlier, the goal to having a staff member on island during the project is again for that communication piece and also to be able to work together with the dredging project manager along with our coastal engineering firm, their project managers who will also be on island. That way, I feel like all three groups can work together should there be issues that arise and be able to communicate that out to the residents and the community as quickly as possible. In your packet, Mr. Tony Lappy was very generous in giving the CEPD along with our coastal engineering company a discount to be able to stay here on property in just a small guest suite on the bay. And the total for 50 nights, again, that's in your packet, is $11,705. The one thing that is the unknown is the fluidity, of course, of the start and the end date. It could start later, it could last longer, or it could end quicker. So it would be a not to exceed $11,705.
Is that 200 a night?
Yes, 210.
Okay, and that's for the back room? So what,
Yeah.
how much are the rooms? Are they 300 a night or 250?
It's a 35% discount. So yes, I believe it would be over 300.
Is that during season or off season?
Well, everyone's pretty full at this point. And,
Yeah,
and they're
the
not,
issue, Chairman Bill, is that most of the hotels are at full occupancy through October.
Right. No, I know. That's totally understandable. I don't want to cost Tony $5,000 to be a nice guy if he can make more. I have a question. Jennifer, I know you live far away in Cape Coral, but where does John live and where does Dan live? What is their actual travel time? Because before, when Allison was alive, she lived on Sanibel, so there was no need for it. She was right there. But Dan, how far away? What is don't you live like right near the bridge, or am I incorrect?
that would be me. That's John. I'm
Well, John.
Iona.
All right, so you're like 20 minutes away.
45.
Well, wait a minute. I've lived here for 35 years. How exactly does it take 45 minutes to get from the Sanibel Outlet Mall to, it takes exactly 22 minutes.
Well, I go 35 miles an hour. I stick on the speed limit, and it gets me here in about 35 to 45 minutes, depending on traffic.
And how far away are you from the Sanibel Mall? The Sanibel Outlet Mall?
About 2 miles.
You're 2 miles. Okay. Well, then you must go 20 miles under the speed limit if it takes you 45 minutes. But that's all right. That's a different conversation. I would just say it's, do we have to decide right now? Can we look at it? I mean, we used to get, well, of course, John Jensen sold this place, but they used to give a place largesse. And I hate the idea of Tony taking a hit for us when he's been so generous to begin with.
The only issue is that, they are asking us to commit so that they know if they're going to keep these one-room suites for us.
Right.
So they're asking us to commit to that. So,
No, I understand. I just take a little umbrage saying it's 45 minutes to get there. I've lived on this island for 35 minutes and it's never, ever taken that long to get there.
But if you're gonna have John do it all the time, then John has to be here every day, all the time.
Well,
That would be a bit much for one person to carry.
no, but isn't this for emergency? Isn't this for like if something goes wrong, they're there at night? Because supposedly the three of them are supposed to be at the office 5 days a week to begin with. So unless something happens late at night or it's an overnight thing or something like that, this is just a sort of a fail-safe. I mean, there is an occupancy of the CEPD office, for the, for during the day. So I'm just trying, I'm being the devil's advocate here. I'm not trying to be the hard guy, but I'm just thinking that
This- and
that's
again,
just a point of perspective, but you guys do what you want. I would just like to look into it further, because Tony's taken a hit and he's been generous. Because you're right, it is a lot of money, and it's 5 days a week, or or maybe even, there's no such thing as 5 days a week. If there's something happening on Saturday, or Jennifer works with the Cape Coral on Wednesday, so maybe she can come in Saturday. I mean, there's all these other, the office is open. And, but so this is really at nighttime. If something happens at 2 a.m. And so, and then what it is an engineer thing that they fix. And then in the morning, there has to be some phone calls made. I'm just saying it's a nice thing to do, but I'm again being the devil's advocate.
Okay.
We're in discussion. We haven't had a motion yet.
I would just, I'd give it a week and really look into it, but that's me.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the expense to have staff stay on island during the beach nourishment project?
You can accept them, you can make the motion and still vote no. You don't have to vote yes by making a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll
That would
second.
allow it.
Okay, so now, commissioners, any further discussion?
I don't see what it's all for. I mean, we're buying a project, really. They've done it for its time, since 1984, so they know what it is. Why all of a sudden are we asked to pay for hotel rooms?
we're not. This is just an,
Yeah, but that's
a
all.
way.
How much is the total amount?
Total could be not to exceed $11,705.
That's all, that is a lot of money.
And there
So
we,
it really is for emergency use or what?
no, staff would be expected to be on island 7 days a week during the project.
Well, what would you normally do? I mean, we're paying for the project.
It would just be a way for us to be on island should there be any emergencies or any emergent items that come up. we'd
Can't
be-
they call and get them then if there's emergency?
Well, yeah, but as Chairman Bill pointed out, all of us live an average of about an hour away. So to be able to have us on island, working with the dredger as well as the coastal engineering company, we can all three be together if any issues arise, which again, my understanding was power loss, storms, and the pipe breaking have been issues that we've dealt with past projects.
Well, since I've been a commissioner, and even before that, we never had hotel rooms and all this other. That was all within the project.
My understanding is because you previously had staff that have actually lived on island or lived on Sanibel and could get here quickly.
I can't say it. Not being cheesy with a project that costs, a good sum of money for everybody, and then to have to spend more money on where they're living at the time. That's not a good thing.
Commissioner Pyle, do you have any comments on this issue?
He's still frozen. Oh, there he is.
I think compensating our staff if there's an emergency where they would have to come out, not regular hours, they should be compensated at least at their regular hourly rate. I have to excuse myself at this point, so I apologize. Also, for information purposes, if we have a meeting on August 10th, I will be out of town, but I can't call in.
I think what Richard just said, I think what Richard just said is, could we, if they do have to come out in some kind of emergency, we could compensate them versus just having them live out here.
Right.
So if they, if Dan has to come out at 2 a.m. to take care of something, we'll take care of him. I think that's going to amount to much less than 11 grand. The emergency situations. And Dick, if I'm correct, because I know you have, can you just like do a thumb up meaning? That's correct. Okay, so I think that would be a rational thing to do.
That's it. Also outside of the.
Okay,
Once you have to vote on.
see you guys later. Bye.
Poor Dick, he's got.
We would have to look into that reality. I mean, we're all salary employees, and so I don't know that any additional,
Right.
I mean, I don't know how that works.
And it's outside the motion, so we wouldn't be able to make it pass on anything like that right now.
But your understanding in terms of salary is that if you get called up on the weekend, it's part of your job.
It is part of our job, yes. It's just, again, you know, this is just an option for us to be on island. Should any issues arise, we're able to be on island quickly to mitigate any issues that can be mitigated out. That's it. And the problem, you know, is, you know, it's not going to be easy, given that we've had such wonderful occupancy out everywhere, for us to necessarily be able to get a room at that point. But, you know, it's just an option. The other option is it takes us an hour or so to get out here. You know, and we more than likely probably wouldn't be able to come in the middle of the night. So, you know, that would just be a challenge. I mean, those of us that have children, it would be a challenge.
I can't think of, I mean, I'm just trying to think of possibilities. If I mean, you know, of course, you know, if there was an electrical issue, we'd call LCEC. I just think whatever it is, it's going to be phone calling. There's nothing physical. It's not like we're roughnecks. We got to be on the pipe extra, where it's just a matter of communications. If something goes wrong, and if it's some irate person that
You have the ability to
the bulldozer push their
motion here.
You have to vote on this motion.
Vote this down.
Yeah, vote it however you want.
And do we have the option to introduce a new motion at this meeting?
You may
If
at any
you want
time.
to, it's about the subject matter.
All right.
Or you can withdraw the motion to approve and make a different motion.
What would be the motion that we change to?
It sounds like that
Well,
there's a
we-
proposal to have emergency expenditures for accommodations for emergencies.
We would still need to close the motion on the floor.
Yeah. So I will withdraw the second. I think that's okay.
If you withdraw the motion.
Withdraw the motion.
Yes.
Okay, and then, so do I have a motion to approve the emergency expense
Yes.
of staff
For accommodations during the project.
for accommodations during the project,
right.
during the beach nourishment project?
But then, I don't want to throw a monkey in the wrench, but would we, because you mentioned that most of these hotels are booked solid. Would they then have rooms?
It all depends, you know, you
Yeah,
can't
I mean, it
tell.
would just
Because you're gonna be dealing with, right? Of course.
So the motion is emergency expenses, to approve emergency expenses for staff during the beach nourishment project.
That's right, if needed, if needed. It's a way of working around.
Right.
Okay, so we have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it. And any other further discussion on this issue?
Well,
Okay, go ahead.
the question I ask is would we have the facility when we need? See, right now, these people are going to block their rooms.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. More than likely not. This is a way to ensure that we have secure. Should you all decide to go to have staff on island 7 days a week during the project. So if there's an emergency that arises and it makes more sense for staff to be on island, yes, there is a chance that we would be able to find a place.
Jennifer, how many staff members are you talking about? How many rooms
We
at
would
any one
rotate
time?
just one room. We would rotate our schedules, be taking all of it, time, most of the time.
You mean one room is gonna cost $11,000?
Yes, for 50 minutes.
How many that night?
But that's give or take, because we don't know if it starts, if we get done early or if there's something that happens, if it extends it, but it would not exceed.
Can I ask Dave Jensen, in the audience, a question?
John, Jensen.
I mean, John, I know your brother.
That's okay here, yeah.
Yeah, sorry,
Yes, it's okay. Go ahead.
what is the feasibility of what we're talking about right now? You used to this all the time. People need emergency rooms, this and that.
I would say if it's August, September, and Twin Waters has a lot of rooms,
Yeah,
I would say the chance would be pretty good you could get a room.
yeah.
But I don't know, this year's different. But usually August, September, you could get something.
You get something. Okay,
Somewhere on the island between Jensen, Twin Waters didn't have anything.
right.
Maybe Jensen's Twin Palm or.
She, nice bench Dallas Niagara.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other comments from Renee or Dick?
Oh, just, I'm kind of limited till 6 o'clock. Place is closing and I have to pick my only car up. That is my daily driver. I have no other way of getting around.
So can we call a vote on this?
Sir, Vice Chairman Sylvia,
Yes.
Secretary Kaiser,
Yes,
Treasurer Pyle has left the meeting, Commissioner Mullins is absent, and Chairman Maville.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Motion carries 3-0.
Right. Okay.
Historically, we'll move on. Historically, Aptum has performed duties to secure funding from the FDEP through the local government funding request. Do I have a motion to accept the LGFR services contract as provided by Aptum?
Can someone remotely make that motion or is it just the people physically present?
You can make it.
Yeah,
You can make the
it.
motion, Renee, if you'd like to.
All right, well then I will make such motion to approve the contract.
And I will second it.
All right.
So commissioners, any discussion?
Call it.
Okay. Administrative Director, please call the vote.
Vice Chairman Sylvia,
Yes.
Secretary Kaiser,
yes.
Treasurer Pyle has left the meeting, Commissioner Mullins is absent, Chairman Maville.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0.
Excellent. Okay, so now we can move to the tentative apportionment model. CEPD staff has prepared a presentation to explain the current apportionment model that is under consideration by the CEPD board. We were meant to hold a vote on this tonight, but due to a defect in the advertisement, we will not be able to do so. We still intend to share the model that we are considering with the public this evening. Technical Policy Director, that would be Dan. Would you please educate us on the apportionment model? Sure.
Sorry, turn that back to y'all. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Daniel Mott. Tonight I'll be presenting on the apportionment model under consideration for the CEPD. Just a quick project description. I'm sure you're all aware the CEPD is scheduled to begin the island-wide beach nourishment project this coming August. As previously discussed, it's going to start between August 5th and August 21st as FWC allows. It's going to consist of approximately 750,000 cubic yards of beach fill spread across nearly 5 miles of beach. As a 750,000 cubic yard project, the project is expected to cost approximately $18 million in total. From that, the DEP is expected to contribute up to 21.07% of the total cost of the project. Following this contribution from the DEP, Lee County at this time is expected to contribute up to 24.35% of the remainder of the project. This leaves approximately $10.8 million that needs to be funded through local property owners that benefit from the project. And so all property owners Captiva benefit from this project in some manner. Property values are going to rise accordingly. The Gulf-facing properties receive the benefit of enhanced protection from erosion as well as storm damage. Properties are grouped into 6 separate categories based upon their similarities in erosion rate, beach profile, etc. These groupings are known as the storm protection benefit zones. All public properties receive the benefit of a more desirable beach. This is a recreation benefit. 3 distinct categories have been created for this model based upon the benefit received, and they're labeled as residential with homestead exemption, and commercial. All right, the model the board is considering is named the benefits-based apportionment model. The concept behind the benefits-based model is to fairly distribute the local cost of the beach nourishment project to the property owners in proportion to the benefits that they actually receive from this project. To do this, separate studies were performed to determine the per year monetary value that's added to each of the benefits categories, those being storm protection and recreation. So storm protection benefits. Again, only properties that are considered front line to the Gulf of Mexico are considered to receive storm benefits. This benefit is measured in the difference between the value of the expected property losses if the project was not constructed versus the reduced expected property losses if the project is constructed.
Mhm.
All right, so to determine these values, Aptum was our engineer. They performed a 22-year simulation both with the project and without the project. The simulation revealed that the project's construction reduces the expected annual damages by nearly $3 million. The private property owners receive a reduction to expected property losses of nearly $2.5 million. This table illustrates how properties are grouped in similar categories by Aptum Engineering. They're based upon the historic scientific data, and it's established the predictable patterns of erosion. And this data allows the engineers to fortify Captiva to further island resiliency. Okay. This table shows the reduction in total expected property losses per year and further specifies the specific zones that they are generated from. As you recall from the previous slide, the Upper South Seas Beach Zone is both the largest and the most valuable per land per square foot. It also has the largest beach width profile on the island. This means that they're going to get the most sand as well. This results in the highest benefit share of storm protection on the island. So this slide is based upon an estimated nearly $10.8 million local project costs. The middle table on your screen shows the breakdown of each of the 6 storm protection zones: 1, 2, 3A, 3B, 4, and 5. The annual storm benefit zone is converted to a percentage of the total storm benefits received on the island based on the figures from the last slide. And this percentage represents the cost share per zone. Again, we're apportioning these projects based upon the amount of benefits they receive. Total just values are shown and the millage rates are calculated accordingly. On this slide, I provided example calculations with a property that's valued at $2 million. Please keep in mind that the property just value is calculated by the property appraiser's office and is not controlled by the CEPD. So this shows an overview map of the storm protection zones that most here are familiar with. I'll just leave it up there for just a brief second. Okay. All right, so now I want to talk about the total annual recreation benefits. All private properties on Captiva receive a recreation benefit of the enhanced beach that is created. And a willingness to pay survey was performed by Dr. Strong and Dr. Jackson to determine the monetary value of the beach that's created. Their research concluded that the recreation benefit of the beach is worth over $2.8 million per year. The table on your screen shows the breakdown of where these benefits are attributed to, as well as the percentage of benefit received by category. Delving into the data reveals that permanent residents utilize the beach far less often than any other subgroup of beachgoers. So the whole concept of the model is based upon benefits received. So we considered a subcategory of residential with homestead exemption, and we graded that to provide permanent residents of the island with a 42.1% discount. As set in previous nourishments. Previous nourishments did attribute that to condominiums only, but in this model, we are considering all residential in the same umbrella. This slide is based upon the same $10.8 million local project cost. The table on your screen shows a breakdown of each of the recreation benefit categories. The annual storm benefit amount category is converted to the percentage of recreation benefits on the island, and this represents the recreational cost share per category. And again, I provided a $2 million example property just value along with the example assessment for that property.
Can you hold up? John's got a dialog box open in the screen. Sorry, I didn't know you could see that. Okay, just give people a minute to look at, absorb that slide, and you can go to the next one. Okay.
So this table provides a breakdown of the monetary value of the benefits received by storm protection category and recreation category, and it gives a holistic view of the cost share breakdown for the local funding. As you can see, the total benefits received by this project per year is $5.2 million. This slide shows a side-by-side comparison of the current model and the final model that was adopted in 2014. You'll see the only major change is assessing the residential properties without distinction to residence type. So project highlights. We're going to get enhanced beaches. We get Captiva Island beach protection from storm and sea level rise and improved property values according to the benefits received. So talk a little bit about the cost and the benefits highlights of this project. The current cost, again, $10.8 million local funding. And for the payments, once the final assessment's been issued, the payments can be made within 60 days interest-free or in installments over a 10-year basis at a 2% yearly interest rate. The return on investments received from a beach nourishment project is one of the best investments someone can make. With the total annual benefits estimated at over $5.2 million, this is roughly equal to a 50% return per year on a $10.8 million project. I've provided two example investments covering the past 20 years for comparison purposes, and the best of which returns a 6.36% return on investment. I'd like to turn it over to Jennifer. Would like to talk about nonprofit entities.
Thank you. Yes. So for those of you that don't know, we've had this PowerPoint online for the last week, and we've also, Dan did a great job putting together an apportionment model map, which he will show here shortly. Something again that we committed to early on this year is part of our communication plan is to have some type of a dashboard for everyone to be able to go online on our website and be able to plug in your address or property owner name, and your property will come up and give you your estimated, at this point, estimated assessment. We've also been taking many public comments, individuals who contacted us via telephone or email at the office once the presentation went out. We did get a phone call recently, regarding nonprofit entities. And what should we do with nonprofit entities in terms of how are they assessed? Do they receive recreational benefits? Do they receive storm protection benefits? Do they receive both? And the other thing to think about too, in terms of looking at a nonprofit, is what type of services do they offer or can offer to the community? So I think it's really important that as commissioners, you all think about this. Don't have to make a decision today, but we might want to possibly give a discount to the nonprofit entities on island that offer a benefit. So for example, if you look at these two examples regarding potentially reducing, say, the assessments for nonprofit entities, the two that I named on the previous slide, especially because again, they offer services. They allow residents and visitors actually on property to come and visit. They offer services. They offer, you know, issues that occur, you know, when we have storms, they're able to be on a site to, again, you know, possibly give food, help direct traffic, help with families in need. So those are things I want you as a commission to think about. And I wanted to kind of show what it would look like if we offered a 25% reduction, a 50% reduction, or if you all voted to potentially waive the assessments for these nonprofits. The one thing to obviously keep in mind is the cost would have to come from somewhere. So it would go to the properties, the other properties. It would be dispersed among those properties evenly. And the second table shows you of what that would look like to the commercial properties. So for example, for a 25% reduction, each additional property would have to absorb that cost, and it would be about $202 more. Then you look at the 50% reduction, and it would be $404 more. And then of course you see the if it's exempt, what it would look like. And I can't see that on this slide. Sorry.
Excuse me, Jennifer, it looks to me that you're assessing, we call it in the stock trade, sharing the pain. Are you assessing it all to the commercial properties versus all the residentials and the commercials?
Yes. Yes.
So it's just commercial.
Yes, because right now these properties, these two in particular nonprofit properties, are under
Commercial.
commercial designation.
Right. Well, this is all up for discussion, right? So we don't have to decide anything.
No,
This thing
No,
that-
what I'm looking, the purpose of me bringing this forward again is to, in our effort of transparency, to be transparent to all of you and our residents. We want to make sure we address all the concerns ahead of time. And what I'm looking for is really direction from you all, which direction you would like to go, or if you'd like us to look at a different option, or, you know, if you say, no, we're going to keep them in commercial and make them pay the assessments. That's,
So
I'm
is
just
your
looking for-
presentation done so we can ask questions now?
yeah, we can, hold on, yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
almost.
I would volunteer to just merely say that this is something we should strongly consider, and we have plenty of time to make a wise decision to certainly help people whose focus as a not-for-profit is to help the immediate community. And I don't think this is a decision as far as what number, you know, until we have a full board, and we certainly have plenty of time before the bill comes due.
Well, what I was going to recommend, Chairman Bill, is that we present this tonight and then come back maybe in a week or two, maybe 2 weeks, with a workshop that kind of dives into this a little bit deeper, so that again, staff gets better direction from you all in terms of what you want to have for the August meeting.
Okay, forgive me for interjecting, but right now, because I see Dr. Strong on the TV there, I think one of the most tantamount things that we need to focus on is the fact that it's very interesting to hear that the hotels are packed, the beaches are packed, and at our original 2014 renourishment, our recreational benefits were in the 30 percentile area. And even with a little bit of data that, you know, that Bill was nice enough to except we need to focus on the fact, because correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Strong, you're willing to look at more numbers and you just got some numbers that we really need to do a deep dive, because when the survey was done in August of 2019, the beaches were deserted because of the red tide. And there was also a lot of tremendous losses with the hotels and everything and the renters. So I would like to have a workshop on that, because we have a year to decide. And we, as chairman, you have my commitment to support this initiative, to give them a break. But I really, instead of doing a workshop in 2 weeks of something that we need done in a year and a half, we need to focus on getting a more accurate assessment on what the recreational benefits are now. And so I'm just telling the rest of the board here that I understand that workshop, but if we're going to have a workshop, let's have a workshop about saving maybe $1 million, because Dr. Strong is willing to work with us, but he needs the data. So we need to have a workshop on in extrapolating the data for Dr. Strong. And
Just to clarify, Chairman Bell, the beach, recreational beach survey that Dr. Strong did in his previous study was done in July of 2018, not August of
18, thank you, excuse me, that's absolutely correct.
Height of the red tide issues
My
here.
bad, bad, you're absolutely right, sorry about that.
Clarify that for the record.
Thank you. But can we, if we're going to do a workshop, can we focus on the big, the big thing? And then as chairman, both the CEPD and the chaplain of the sea have my commitment that we will work on something that'll be definitely a two-way street and everyone's going to be happy. I mean, my word is my bond. So, but I would like to really not have a workshop on that and get down to business on something that's really important to all the islanders that could save them maybe 20% of what they're going to have to pay. So I would like, acting Chairman Sylvia, I would appreciate your opinion on this. So I don't want to be a maverick here.
So can I ask some questions now? Okay, Dan, a couple of questions to you, and I really, yes,
Could Dan show his interactive map
Oh.
first?
true, sorry.
I just want to take a minute
Just gotta answer
to
some
kind of show the interactive map that I created to visualize the assessment model.
Where is this available, Dan?
This is available on our website. Right now it's on our head scroller. It's also under our beach projects portion of our website. You don't need a login or anything like that. You can just click on it, and I would recommend there's a little link at the bottom that says view larger map. It's a little bit easier to use, but you can use it right on the CEPD website. The first thing that you'll notice is a legend that pops up on the left, and it delineates the different storm protection zones 1 through 5.
If anybody in the audience wants to come around to see the screen, you guys can come around to see the screen. If you haven't seen this map, it's pretty cool.
So it delineates the different storm protection zones. It also shows which properties do not receive a storm protection assessment. It is searchable in the top right corner. You can search it by address, strap number, owner name. It even provides some suggestions as you begin to type. I've coded it to give you like 10 suggestions. And what happens when you do that is it'll zoom into a specific property, and you can then click on that property and a pop-up will appear. And it'll give you all the information, the owner name, folio ID, your DOR code is determined by the property appraiser. It'll tell you what your current just value is with the property appraiser. It'll, in written text, tell you what your storm protection zone is, what your millage rate is, what your storm protection assessment is, and then your recreational category, what category you fall in, what the millage rate is, what the assessment is for that. And at the bottom, it calculates the total estimated assessment based on the current model. And this is any property on the island you can click on, it'll pull up the same pop-up. I will point out that some properties are are condos, so they have multiple strap numbers layered on top of each other. There's a little arrow button that pops up on the bottom. If yours isn't the first one, you can scroll over 2, 3, 4. I also did want to go up and down the island to kind of point out the storm protection zones are all practically in a linear fashion, meaning that we take the most Gulf-facing property and assess a storm protection benefit to it. So in the example on the screen here,
Most Gulf facing structure.
correct, yes. So we do not assess common element parcels. They have a $0 just value. So even if a millage rate was attributed to them, 0 times whatever millage rate is going to result in a $0 assessment. And for those of you that may not know what a mill is, it's a thousandth of a percent. So we take that however many thousandths of a percent of your property and multiply that times your just value of the property appraiser. And keeping in mind that one of the items that's expected to change every year is the just value of the property. I know specifically one that was brought up was the Mucky Duck has a just value of the property appraiser of roughly almost 600,000. I'll pull it up right now. But a deeper dive has, you can look at the property appraiser and see the working values, and they're expected to go up. Their just value is expected to go up by almost $1 million in the next year. But that's to be finalized by the property appraiser. So I will caution anybody that has any issues with the just value that's to be handled with the property appraiser.
But there's no difference between a renter and a non-renter, right?
The only difference is a homestead exempted property versus a non-homestead exempted property.
Right.
Okay.
We do get a lot of feedback about people asking about the homes that are rented out,
Right.
residential homes. They're still zoned residential by the property appraiser. So we can't charge them as a commercial,
Right.
no matter how many times they rent it out.
So until there's some sort of data to delineate those properties, then maybe that could come into consideration for a future project, but there's nothing, no data to point to say, this is, a rental home or, Airbnb or
Right.
anything like that.
We're trying to give the benefit again to the homesteaded properties, the residential homesteaded properties. Those are the properties that we are hoping to benefit.
Okay, I have several questions now.
Excuse me, can I just reiterate something? When people own a home and they rent it out during a beach renourishment cycle, in between year 1 to year 10, the homes are for sale, then they're owned privately and they're not rented. So how do you even possibly, say, well, you rented your home, so you're going to pay more, or, well, the person who bought it, he now bought it a year before. So in other words, it's a moving target. And also the irony is the values of the homes from an equity perspective are valued because it is a tourist destination. And, of course, we understand some people don't like renters. Oh, there's things on the beach. It might be more of a perception than a reality. But what I'm trying to say is, the wait a minute, someone's looking at the black and white. Hold on 1 second. I don't know who that is, but I have to excuse myself. I'm sorry. Someone at the door.
I know Renee said he had to go at 6. I think it's 6 now. Okay, we have some members of the public that have some questions perhaps. So I don't know if you want to take those questions and then go to yours or do yours first.
Let me ask my questions first.
Okay.
So first, couple of things I think, Dan, there's confusion in the community because I hear this all the time. There's a statement you made that there is no assessment in terms of a common element. Is that correct? That's correct. I think that needs to be really emphasized on the website or somewhere because a lot of people are concerned about that.
If you go to the website, you click on a common element, it'll say C/E and I'll have $0 for the property value and $0 for the proposed sale.
Well,
Okay.
There's one right up here.
Great. Second question for Dan. And I do appreciate you getting rid of the common element because I think that's a bug for delaying everything. You said basically all we're doing, and I think you restated it, we're just looking at the assessed value. If people have problems with the assessed value, they need to go to the county, correct?
Just the property appraiser.
Property appraisal. So what I like is that everything's treated equally in terms of the property appraisal. Okay, so this gives me a little bit of a, well, quite a bit of a
Also,
problem.
just for information, the time to challenge your property valuation, the property appraiser is coming up soon. I don't know the exact date, but it's coming up soon.
Okay, so this, I like the fact that all the properties are judged the same way, which leads me to be probably on the other side of the table than Renee, because now, and I didn't know when these nonprofit entities came in, because it's not on my handout, but now you're creating an exception to treating everybody the same. I have a problem with that. We started out saying everybody's going to be treated equally, we're all going to do the property assessments, and all of a sudden now we've got exceptions coming to the rule. Ralph can probably comment on this. One of these is a religious entity. Now, I don't know what our relationship should be in terms of granting an exception to a religious entity in terms of the property values. I don't know if there's a state versus church kind of problem there. The other thing I would ask you to do, Executive Secretary, is can we look at other regions in the state who have similar problems? There's got to be other islands that have tax-exempt properties on those islands. Do they offer an exemption to those properties?
I can look, Vice Chair Sylvia. I did ask my own municipality how we handle our water and sewer assessments with nonprofits, and it's my understanding that we offer a 30% discount to churches, but not to nonprofits. We treat nonprofits the same. Churches, or we do a discount too, but I would have some other items.
Apparently with the nonprofit, the CCA, part of their property is the library. So it's a Lee County government facility, but they lease the land from the nonprofit for the government facility. The other building is a sheriff's deputy housing that the sheriff leases from the nonprofit. So it's another government use. And then apparently there's another community event facility.
So how are we dealing with
And
this?
it's not like they don't do weddings there, it's just, community
So
event.
how do we deal with intergovernmental?
I will look into that
Thanks.
between now and August.
Excellent.
Because it's better if we treat everybody the same, because then there are no complaints.
Yeah.
We
and that-
typically don't assess government facilities. So if it's a government facility, they don't get hit, but this is a government facility leasing land from the nonprofit. So it's a little bit of a hybrid.
I will say too, that I've coded everything based upon the DOR codes from the property appraiser, which is, you can download the codes from the property appraiser and see what they are. The DOR code 75, which is charitable and nonprofit organization, which would be the same DOR code as the church and same one as all the Rauschenberg properties as well.
Well, my gut feeling, and I know growing up in Massachusetts, we had huge problems with religious properties. Because in some areas you had 6 or 7 churches in the same town. And all of a sudden you found out that the churches were leasing properties for someone to grow apples. And all of a sudden it was a vegetable farm. And okay, wait a minute, what are we doing here? I just, again, that's just my issues. I hope we can discuss this.
We'll put together a memo for
Thank
you
you,
for
sir.
the next one.
Mr. Jensen, sorry.
Yes, I would just like to say, living in Sunset Captiva and having Jensen's on the Gulf, that I support the tentative apportionment.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The other members of the public would like to comment?
Do we have any online?
Yes. Ms. Riordan, I've given you the floor. The floor is yours whenever you're ready to speak.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Sylvia. And my name is Elisa Riordan. spelling Riordan. And I'd like to start off by thanking Chairman Maville for his concern and his understanding and commitment to the CCA. I happen to serve as the treasurer of the Captiva Civic Association, otherwise known as the CCA. And first, let me, on behalf of the board, thank your staff for the alternative slides and for considering our concerns. I'd like to speak to you about both of the properties owned by CCA and to give those of you who are somewhat new to the Board of Commissioners a little background. CCA is a nonprofit community organization founded in 1938 and is stated in our charter to be operated exclusively for the betterment of the Captiva area. As you know, we provide space for the Captiva Memorial Library, its programs, and residence for a Lee County Deputy Sheriff at greatly reduced rates. The deputy home was specifically moved to its location in the late 1980s for the exclusive purpose of permitting a deputy to live on Captiva. It has always been provided to the Lee County Sheriff's Department. It is not used for any other purpose other than a residence. The CCA is not a commercial entity. We support our community uses and buildings through contributions from the Captiva community. It has always been a community service organization, which in addition to providing library and deputy residence space, provides space and building usage to various community organizations and hosts community programs and meetings. We have hosted dozens of lectures, educational programs, hurricane seminars, cultural events, and government meetings, just to name a few. In addition, and probably most important, we are a dedicated emergency location. For those of you who were here right after Hurricane Charlie, you are aware of the role the CCA Civic Center building played in providing a place for emergency personnel to set up operations for the badly needed work on the island. We provided not only the makeshift office space and staging area, but also a space to come for cooling, to be fed and housed, to take a shower, and to address the critical needs of the Captiva community. In the event of a future need, we would continue to play that vital role. Both of the CCA properties are designated fully tax-exempt properties by Lee County, and except for the last beach renourishment in 2014, have also been tax-exempt from previous beach renourishment charges. I was not on the CCA board during the last beach renourishment, and our previous executive director has since retired, so I'm not able to shed light on why there was a change back in 2014. I can only believe that there was a misunderstanding that was not corrected at the time. I'm requesting on behalf of the CCA board that the CEPD Board of Commissioners grant the CCA properties an exemption based on their government community use and return our properties to tax-exempt status. It is my understanding this is done in other communities with similar type properties. If the board would like CCA to submit a more detailed formal written request before your August meeting, or like me to meet with your staff to provide further information, we would be most happy to do so. Again, I thank you all for your time and your consideration. And again, Chairman Maville, for your commitments. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Any other comments?
Mr. Schwartzel has raised his hand again. Mr. Schwartzel, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just wanted to expand on my previous comments a little bit with some examples that might kind of showcase what I was trying to explain. And I guess fortunately, the mucky duck was brought up, and that was one of my examples. Under the plan as it currently exists, they'll pay $11,000 in beach renourishment. Not to cast any dispersions on the mucky duck's food, but I don't believe the mucky duck as a restaurant would have near the success that it has today without its location. That doesn't seem to make much sense when you look at the valuations of many of the other commercial and residential properties on Captiva. So the formula obviously needs some tweaking in order to take into account commercial versus non-commercial properties. And I do believe there are some ways to get at rentals. And I know, Renee, you and I probably need to have a discussion about that, but I believe residential properties being used for commercial purposes should be categorized somewhat differently. Also was curious as to what year these just values are being used in the map that is displaying the valuations that are out there, because I see some inconsistencies from that standpoint. 16950 Captiva Drive is a relatively new construction. They'll be paying $22,527. That is now a brand new 8,000 plus square foot home. That 22,527 is the same as the vacant property at 16,970 next to them. So that owner for 8 years or however long this beach renourishment lasts will benefit from that. Maybe that's fair, maybe not, not sure. I also take a look at 16,910, the Glover residence, which is next to me. They've just redone that. They're paying $25,746, a couple $1,000s more than a vacant lot. Doesn't make a lot of sense. There's just some, either the valuations need to be updated or there needs to be a little bit more consistency in the way that they are calculated.
Go ahead, Dan, you want to comment?
So to first answer your question, the property just values were taken from the 2020 tax roll. These are all collected directly from the property appraiser's database and are updated on a yearly basis. These will likely be updated again prior to the completion of this project, but certainly prior to the final apportionment adoption. So these will be reflected in that final adoption that you'll see. If I can get the controls out of the way, I can go back to the front. So going back to the Mucky Duck, as I talked about in my presentation, their current working just value for the Mucky Duck, you can see rises significantly to $1.6 million, and the working value probably to be solidified. But you know, all issues with the just values of the properties need to be addressed with the property appraiser. Just the most fair and equitable way that we can do it is to rely on their data that's already being used for their yearly tax roll.
And I agree, Dan. I think it's very difficult for us to go through and look at individual properties. Years ago, I did a property tax assessment for the city of Boston, and the anomalies were everywhere.
Mhm.
And for us to try to correct anomalies, the issue has to go to the Lee County assessors, and they have to deal with that issue. I think also, if I may comment, I think Dan did comment that residential rental properties are treated differently than homestead properties. Is that correct?
We have the categories of residential, and we have residential with homestead exemption, which.
But I understand that if you have the homestead, can you rent?
No.
Okay,
For
so
homestead, for tax purposes, if you rent, you lose your homestead.
Correct.
Right.
so basically we are making a distinction
We are. And
between the rentals.
And
Yes, we
remember
are.
I said, we're giving the biggest benefit to the homesteaded
Homesteaded, yeah.
properties. The homesteaded
Mhm.
properties are getting the biggest benefit because the non-homesteaded, one could make the assumption that those are vacation rentals.
Okay, and let me, if I may,
And once you.
Can I say something about the Mucky Duck?
You're out.
With the Mucky Duck, the other restaurant just went for sale for $8 million. So usually when they assess the value, Mucky Duck's going to be worth more than the $500,000 assessed value. But the big question is, does someone tap the shoulder of Matt Caldwell to say, can we make this kind of fair? Because the certain places are being charged 4 times as much, and the Mucky Duck there's a whisper number for the Mucky Duck at $9 million to buy it. So what's going on? Why are they now assessed only 1.5? I mean, I guess the big question is, who who goes to the tax assessor, to Matt Caldwell's office to say, we are trying to fairly apportion properties here, and what's with these numbers? And how do we make it more fair and equitable?
Go ahead, John.
I think with that, you're looking at a property where, the just assessed value is not going to ever be the same as what someone's going to pay for it. You're always going to look at usually a lesser number on what the just assessed value is. So even if somebody wants to buy a property for $9 million, that doesn't make the property worth $9 million.
Okay. If we take them.
It doesn't make it worth 500,000. My only.
Property appraiser numbers, you have to go directly, Renee, to the property appraiser, say as an individual. We don't do that as PD, but if you'd like to go sit down with them as an individual, you can.
No, I totally understand. I'm just illustrating the issue that it's a LIPA, it's a LIPA issue. And, maybe since we have a little time, we can create an algorithm that,
Here, Renee, but the chairman is clanking the gavel.
I would say things with respect to Lisa's comment. I think you need to look at what happened in 2014. Because I'm not sure what the deal was with 2014 that she's talking about.
Right, she was added onto our assessment roll at that point, and historically was not on it before.
Right, and I think the one individual that could best answer that question is Commissioner Mullins, but unfortunately, he wasn't able to be here today. So that'll be something that I will dig into this week when he's available. I'll ask some questions.
I remember Mike's issue if you want to hear it.
Now, wait a minute, and let me finish. And the other thing about, there's a difference between being tax exempt in terms of property tax exempt and paying for benefits you get. Again, I'll go to the Archdiocese of Boston. A lot of the churches don't pay a property tax, but they certainly pay for the benefits that they receive from the community in terms of shoveling, parking, et cetera, water, sewage, electricity. So to say that the organization is tax exempt, I sort of got it, but that's not the same as saying we're not going to pay for any services we receive. And if part of the services you received is the beach nourishment and whatever else you're doing with them, Dan, that has to be considered. So, to me, like, no, don't start with tax exempt, because that's not going to go very far with me.
Well, they're still receiving, as I indicated in the slide that I talked about, they're still receiving recreational, the church, for example, is receiving both recreational and storm protection, whereas the Civic Association is only receiving recreational. So, that's something to consider as well.
But again, we can look at other organizations and other coastal communities and see exactly what they're going to do.
Yep.
So thank you.
If anyone wants to know why 2014 they got charged, I can tell you right now why, if you want to hear, because I have to excuse myself in 30 seconds. Okay, so the CCA charges the county a reduced rate for the rental to keep the sheriff there, or, the deputy there. That's number one. Number two is the Library of Lee County. They don't go in there for free, they pay. So there is rental revenue in both aspects, but it definitely serves the community, but it's not a charity. So my point is, Mike said, hey, you're getting this revenue, and there also was some, I don't know the other details, Commissioner Mullins, but I remember that was a big point. It's like, well, if you're bringing in revenue, then, that has to be assessed also. I have to excuse myself. Is there any question?
Let me say that is also true of the Catholic Diocese in Boston. When they have revenues coming out of apartments that they rent or shelters that they're renting, they are getting income. So yeah, to me, it's the same deal. But
right. But my commitment stands. We're going to do something right for sure. May I excuse myself? Is there anything else that I might be needed for?
No, I think we're all set, pal.
All right. I apologize, and thank you very much.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
We got one more public comment.
Good.
Mr. Wetzel, the floor is yours.
Who is this, Winchell?
Mr. Wetzel?
Yeah, this is Carol Wetzel. I think I unmuted. I think myself and John Rosen and Bob Adler are no strangers to the committee, the commission. You people have been really great in giving us time to talk and represent sort of interests from the community. And that's great. So I want to thank you very much for that. I spoke with Mike just a day or two ago, expressing our support for this model that's put up on the map, which is great. And Mike asked me to write a letter supporting that on behalf of all of us, which I did, which I think the commission sort of received. So I'm simply orally reiterating our support for Jennifer and Dan and the staff and the work they've done, because we like what we see. And if we can do anything more to help get this thing over the goal line, we will. That's it.
And on a positive note. So thank you, Mr. Wetzel. Very good.
Dan, we had a question that came up. The number that you see on the tentative apportionment on your interactive map, is that the upper bound number? Is it possible that number may come down in terms of how much the actual assessment is based on government grants, on other funding sources?
Well, everything's anticipated on a 750,000 cubic yard project. That's, you know, as we know, a sliding scale. And so the grants from the FDP as well as the county are based upon a percentage of however much the project ends up costing. There's a lot of sliding scales in there. The numbers are best representative of what we can expect at this point.
Yes, and.
So that includes an estimate of the local, state,
Yes.
federal
Yes,
funding, it's
the
all
state-
wrapped in.
Based
We
upon that
don't-
10-point.
It's their best estimate.
We do not receive any federal funding. We are no longer part of the Army Corps project to receive their funding. And on a state level, the only thing that would increase our funding is additional public access on the island. So that is something that we can certainly work on for future with the community if that's a direction we want to go. And adding public access, if we do that, the state increases their percentage of what they'll cover. The counties is based on recreational benefit. So what our percentage is based on recreational benefit, we may see a slight increase in that. But we're pretty confident, barring any higher expense or lower expense of the project, that's accurate numbers.
Percentages should not go down.
Yeah, the percentages shouldn't.
I think that answers the question.
Great.
Okay.
Any other public commentary, John?
Let me double check.
If we categorize.
No, I don't see. There we go. Oh. Okay, Sarah, you have the floor.
She has to unmute. Sarah, can you unmute?
I'm trying.
Well, she may not be there at her computer.
What have you got? It's 6:30 almost.
Okay.
Does Lisa have her hand back up for a reason, or is she done?
Ms. Rorden, I just wanted to check with you. You had your hand up still. Did you have any other comments?
I think we're good.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, council.
Yeah.
I'll take it as such. If no one has any other business, I motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Really?
Aye. Well done. Thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.
Good job, Dan.